Thanks, Todd. Perfect. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rachel Burley, and I'm very pleased to have been invited to join this morning's session. I just wanted to take a few minutes to just talk about predatory publishers from the publisher's perspective. I think it's very interesting to hear about Cabell's and the blacklist. And I think when Beale's list went missing a few months ago, people were kind of thinking, well, how do we check these things now? So, as Todd very nicely introduced me, I work for Springer Nature, but I have the remit of managing Biomed Central, which was the very first open access publisher 17 years ago, which seems hard to believe now for some of us who've been around for a while. And I guess, 17 years ago, some people might have questioned the ethics of Biomed Central because it was so different. So I think we do have to bear in mind what Hilary was saying is that actually there is a different perception by different groups. So we have, Springer Nature is now, just a bit of background, is the biggest open access publisher, and we publish all of these brands. It's a huge number of publications every year, and in the Biomed Central group it's about 40,000 papers, so it's a lot of content. I did just want to mention that Biomed Central is rebranding starting from today, just to refresh our brand, and because the new logo is different, obviously a little bit different to the old one, and so just to introduce it here and to say that's what you'll be seeing more of going forward. So a quick word about copycat journals, which is a specific category of predatory journals, and something that we've seen a lot more of recently, and we get lots of complaints from editors-in-chief that these journals are springing up. And so I've been warned by legal not to go into too much detail about specific publishers or journals, but this is our journal, Stem Cell Research and Therapy. It's a well-established journal and has been around for a number of years. And we've recently been alerted to a journal from a predatory publisher, an identified predatory publisher, which has more or less the same title with the addition of one word. And so, in fact, when you look at the design of the journal as well, it's actually been designed to look very much like this journal. So we had a complaint from the editor-in-chief who said, what are you going to do about it? And the answer is very little. Because actually there isn't much you can do. And if you look at the range of journals out there, it's actually quite hard to find a title for a journal that isn't similar to one that already exists. And so if we approach that publisher and say cease and desist, they might say, well, we haven't done anything wrong. It's not the same title as your journal. But we do know from email communications and spamming that they are approaching our editors and our editorial boards and our author base, and that does cause confusion because authors sometimes think they're submitting to our journal and they're not. And so that is problematic. So there are a number of things that we can do to try to educate authors and others about how to make sure you're submitting to the right journal. And I think it's quite right to say that there isn't one solution, but one solution that I think publishers can put in place is to just be very clear about the affiliations of the journal. So these are showing covers. Many of our journals are published on behalf of scholarly societies or institutions, and so we make that clear, and in our new design going forward we'll be making it very clear and also identifying the journals with the BMC logo so that consistency of branding becomes very well known and the authors know that they can trust journals that are published under that brand. I think it does mean for us actually that we need to be very careful about making sure that all of our journals comply, and we're very careful about doing that. But this is one way that we can help authors navigate this increasingly complex world. And this is just an example of the online affiliation. So just our new design will have very prominent affiliations and official organisations shown so that authors can see that they're submitting to a journal that's trusted. So I think there are a number of things just that we can help authors to do. The obvious ones have already been mentioned by Hilary, but I think it's important that we encourage authors to check that journals are indexed in reputable sources, and some of them are shown here. It's actually not that easy now to have a journal listed in the DOAJ. It's certainly not in Medline. And so I think if you've been through that rigorous process, then you can pretty much trust the journal and the brand. Also, membership of organisations like COPE, which is a pretty important organisation on publication ethics, and most of the major publishers are members. And then finally, I just wanted to give a shout to the Think, Check, Submit campaign, which actually Biomed Central were one of the founders of this. And it's really an educational organisation, giving authors guidelines on the thought process of how you go about selecting a journal to publish in. And not just looking out for predatory journals, but just making sure you're submitting to the right journal in the first place. So I think we've seen a bit more of a resurgence of this campaign, and we're definitely supportive of it. And I think with some of the other initiatives that we've talked about so far, and that I'm hoping we'll go on to talk about, this will help to become a solution for the problem of predators. Thank you.